In terms of how to quantify what that racism is, I think it starts from the fact that we're not in positions to make decisions. Okay, so then if we're not in position to make decisions, then the ones that are making decisions are the ones that make the decisions that look like them. Okay, so now there is this new shift that the Commissioner Mansford is working towards. Is they're going to expand to 32 teams. Okay, so but before they do that, they have to rectify Oakland.
Hey, it's Breaking Barriers, the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging podcast. We're here for real talk. We're not afraid to go there, and we want you to come away emboldened and energized to take action and make change.
We believe our diversity, our differences, when joined together by a common set of ideals, makes us stronger.
When I set out to help someone, it is my intention to do just that. I'm not trying to do anything other than meet somebody at their humanity.
Your world has changed, but your dreams shouldn't have to. That's why Kirkwood is your next best step. With affordable, flexible, and close-to-home options, now's a great time to start or finish your Kirkwood degree. Learn more at kirkwood.edu/findyourfuture. Displaced or discouraged at work? Kirkwood can help you learn a new skill or totally reinvent yourself for a brand new career. With so many flexible and affordable options, you can get back on track fast. Learn more at kirkwood.edu/findyourfuture.
We're ready. Welcome back, world. We at you today with another episode of Breaking Barriers, the D&B podcast brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Kirkwood Community College. And a special shout out today to our other sponsor, our silver diversity sponsor, Rise to Greatness. We are so pleased with the work that they've been doing and the support they've provided. We have a special treat today, and we're going to get really into some conversation with you all. And we thank Rise to Greatness for putting together this event. We've got a 3-part series with a gang of Major League Baseball legends. And so we are going to have some conversations about how sports ties to diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We're going to have a great conversation. I'm your co-host, Anthony Arrington.
Nick Ford, and we are actually here from, where are we at? What's the town? What's Bensenville? Bensenville. The Bo Dome Sports Complex here.
We're in the great Bo Jackson Sports Dome and having a good time. So, again, thanks to Rise to Greatness. Nick, who do we got today?
Well, we're going to do something a little different today. We're actually going to let them say who they are, since we have so many guests, and kind of get a little bit about us. I know a couple of them will have to keep down a little bit, a little short on their bios because they're long. But others, our entire show would be bios for these gentlemen. So let's go and start to my right.
Maybe where you play, history, and then what you're doing today.
Well, hello world. This is Reggie Sanders, and so I played in the major leagues for 17 years, mostly with Cincinnati. Played for 8 teams in that time. Won the World Series with the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2001. Lost the World Series in 2002. I was with San Francisco, and lost the World Series. I was with St. Louis in 2004. And currently work for the Kansas City Royals in the front office in the leadership department. And so have to foster and cultivate the next generation of players on and off the field. And then I have been married for 30 years. I have 4 girls, a grandson as well. And that's me.
Good stuff.
So it's funny because that with Ben, my brother, always ties, right? Like, we'll get to your ties with the home runs. But you know why you won the World Series that year, right?
Tell me.
Whatever team he got traded from won.
Oh, wasn't it?
The Yankees, the Diamondbacks expansion draft, Yankees won it. He left the Diamondbacks.
Yes.
After he left the Cubs, they won.
Well, he was that guy.
He was that guy. So,
All right, my name is Dmitri Young. I'm a 13-year veteran, nicknamed the Meat Hook. I played with 4 different teams. I was teammates with the gentleman to my right, Brian Jordan, in St. Louis when I was a rookie. And then when I got traded after my rookie year to Cincinnati, the gentleman to my left was a teammate of mine, Reggie Sanders. And I played with the Detroit Tigers and finished up my career with the Washington Nationals. I was the 3rd out of 4 people to hit 3 opening day home runs, and I was the 2007 National League Comeback Player of the Year. And after my playing days was over, I've been on the amateur side doing stuff with MLB with the Breakthrough Series and the Hank Aaron Invitational. It started out as Elite Development Invitational. Been a high school coach and also a high school head coach. And I finished up that, and I just managed in the MLB Draft League this summer with the Mahoning Valley Scrappers. And currently, I'm looking for some work.
Someone heard that we've been recruiting for him, I think.
Wow. So to my left, Meat Hook. No, I'm Brian Jordan. Played 15 years of Major League Baseball. Started out with St. Louis Cardinals. Was drafted there first round. Got a chance to take Meat Hook under my wing. We won a big playoff game because he got a hit and got to me for that, was it 2-1 home run, 3-1? I don't know what it was. But, yeah, played 15 years of Major League Baseball with St. Louis Cardinals, LA Dodgers, Texas Rangers, and Atlanta Braves for 5 years where I retired. And then went on, played 3 years in the NFL with the Atlanta Falcons. Now I presently run a foundation, the Brian Jordan Foundation, providing scholarships. We've given out over $1 million in scholarships since 1998 when inception of the Brian Jordan Foundation. And now I write children's books, and I'm in the elementary school space, and that's near and dear to my heart. Getting kids to read. Literacy is such a huge problem around the world, especially since COVID. And this is what I love to do, man. So write children's books, have fun, and motivate kids. Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Hey, my name is Greg Goodwin. I'm just a grassroots organizer for amateur baseball. I was a high school coach at Redan High School where we had numerous kids drafted. I guess Brandon Phillips was most of the guys know about, but we had 6 guys playing in the big leagues. And from there, that's when I met Brian when I was a high school coach at Redan. He came and did a couple of clinics for us. And then I went on to scout with the Dodgers and the Marlins 18 years. That's where I met Reggie. Lon Joyce, who I worked for 18 years, signed Reggie and coached Reggie, and I've just been around baseball most of my life. What I'm most proud of is the Minimally Viable Prospect organization, which we started 20 years ago, when they told the lie that black kids weren't playing baseball anymore. And through scouting, I'd seen 1 or 2 on the team, and all these events I went to. So we said, we'll start our own tournament, and we then success for the last 20 years in Atlanta. We got 8 teams from all over the country, predominantly black kids, and 500 of those kids have gone on to get college scholarships, and that's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good work. Yeah, good stuff.
Ernest knows what we do.
Ernest.
Man, this is a true honor to be here. My name is Ernest Radcliffe from Chicago. I was drafted in 1986 by the St. Louis Cardinals. I played at Central State University. I'm currently the head coach at Morgan Park High School. I have a big travel baseball program to show baseball. I'm a little bit different. I also have a huge football program as well, the Southside Wolfpack, and then my wife has the Lady Wolves Cheer and Dance. So we are directly responsible for helping thousands of young people every year live their dreams. My uncles are the legendary Ted Double Duty Radcliffe and Alec Radcliffe. Yeah, that's right. I have 10 children. One of them played with the Texas Rangers. I got 2 currently starting at Southern University in Baton Rouge. And pretty much the reality is every kid that plays for me, it is my direct responsibility to make sure that they go to college, get their degrees, become successful young people. And I'm a grassroots organization without any sponsorship. We do it all on prayer and
fish fries and car wash.
Yeah.
And chicken
dinners. You got chicken dinners?
Hey, Ernest must not have had any TVs at home. 10 kids,
But he makes it work.
Oh my God. I want to start that though, because when I was reading about you, I don't remember you playing that much, but I kind of do. But what I was reading about, one of the things you said you like with kids, I read a quote by one of the kids who said that you were like a father to him. Mm-hmm. He said, a lot of times I think, what would Coach Radcliffe say? How does that make you feel with the work you're doing with these young black kids that somebody would say that about you?
Man, that's a tremendous honor. Everybody really don't know what's going on. They say blacks don't play baseball. That is not the truth. A lot of our young people play the game. Mm-hmm. They want to play the game. They want to be taught. They want to have discipline. They want to have all of that. Right. And for that young man, I know he said that. I am a father figure to a lot of people. Me and my wife, a lot of people don't know. A lot of these kids don't eat. Some of them don't eat at all. We've had the opportunity to make sure that we take them home, we feed them, make sure they go to school. I mean, I've stood there and made sure my players in school do their work in order to get out of the city. So my thing for baseball and sports period is that I preach to them all the time. Take this opportunity, take this sports and use it as a vehicle to get a free education. Now, the thing is that in baseball, they don't give full rides to college. If a guy throwing 95, 100, they gonna find the money. So as a coach, and my responsibility, we have to make sure that all our young men have the proper academics to match with the athletics so they can go out and they won't have a bill or things of that nature when they graduate. And is it tough? It's tough. It's very tough.
And if I could add just a little bit to that, and thanks for sharing that. He talked about Lon Joyce, and growing up in South Carolina, my father was a steel worker. My mom and dad had me at 17 years old, so they had to quit school and start working because the family didn't have money. So they did what they had to do, and so my grandmother was the one that really kind of raised me. And as I kind of went through high school and all of that, then there was a man that came in my life as well by the name of Lon Joyce. And Lon Joyce was that father figure as well when you think of from a community aspect. He mentored me in a way that most men did not, because my father wasn't there even though he was there, but he was not there because he had to work. So he did his part as a man and as a father, but there was this other community aspect of it that Lon Joyce came in and really kind of molded me and developed me and challenged me to become a young man and then to develop to grow even further. So I really owe a lot not only to my mom and dad, but also those other pillars in the community that see something within me and try to bring it out. Yeah. And Lon Joyce was definitely one of those men. Yeah.
No doubt about it. We all do this because somebody did something for us, and so we try to give back, and we all owe a debt of gratitude to those that came before us, and we actually stand on their shoulders. But we all know that we're not going to solve the problem today about blacks in baseball, but we also understand that because, like Ernest said, because lack of scholarships, NCAA could give more scholarships to baseball than 11.7 scholarships, but we're not ever going to tell our kids, turn down a football scholarship, our basketball's at 100%, and go take this 30% to play baseball. We'll never do that because it's about economics, and we understand that in the end. But we love baseball, so we like to get our kids involved in baseball.
So is baseball like swimming? My kids all swam. They share scholarships, basically?
Yeah, no doubt.
Players share them?
I mean, every team got 35 kids. Yeah. 11.7 scholarship. That's at the D1 schools.
Yeah.
Smaller schools don't have it.
Have less. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got a lot of kids. Pretty much when I send my kids to college, right? So because it's on my mind, I just want to say this. And what I've been telling the coaches, because the coaches, they have to keep their APR ratings up to graduate. Mm-hmm. So there's a kid on the bench that sits on the bench, but his grades are outstanding, but he loved the game. So I've asked certain HBCUs to listen. In order for us to kind of flip the script, they say there's no black coaches that's in college. There's no black coaches in the minors. I've asked the coaches, I'm going to send you this kid. I'm going to send you my best player. But I want you to take this young man. His grades are going to take care of his financials. But can you put him on the team and start him to become a coach because he loves the game?
That's grow
That's awesome.
I got 3 schools that are doing that right now. And I got another kid that I'm trying to get, because I tell all the guys, man, okay, you ain't going to play in the big leagues, but you could be a bullpen catcher. So I got a kid that's at the University of Miami. He went and tried out to become a bullpen catcher. I know he can't play at Miami, but his grades say he can go to Miami and major in engineering down there. Right. So he's a bullpen catcher down, trying to be a bullpen catcher in Miami. So there are all different kind of ways to make sure that these young men stay in the game.
Involved in the game.
It's just that we have to tell them how to do it to stay in the game.
Right.
So, you know what the crazy thing is? You remember when the first RBI program was brought to Compton, California? Well, I was one of the first broadcasters really to go in because, it was Southern and Bethune-Cookman playing against UCLA and USC. And, being a black player, I was so excited to see this happen. So I get out to California and I go visit with Southern and Bethune-Cookman. And when I tell you, it was eye-opening for me because I'm thinking I'm going to see a bunch of black ball players on the field at Southern and Bethune-Cookman. Well, I might have seen one on each team because it was full of Latins and white Americans. And it was like, where's the HBCU coming from? But it just goes back to how our kids don't have the exposure to even, they're being overseen in black colleges.
Why do you think that is, Dmitri? Why? So
It's
I mean,
because
you create solutions, but why do you think that is?
Well, we talk about the finances, right? That's one part of it, and exposure for our African American ball players. I mean, we're in the communities trying to make a difference, but at the end of the day, it's about the academics. It's about well-rounded players to have these opportunities, and we're fighting against parents. We're fighting against a lot, but we're fighting against the finances, keeping kids involved.
It's
Economics at the end of the day, because it's a shame you're going to bring HBCU schools to play, represent this RBI program, and you don't have any black players out there. It was amazing to me,
I'm
man.
in Atlanta, and Morehouse is there. They have 2 scholarships. Clark has 1 scholarship.
Wow.
So I can't tell these kids to go to that school and pay $50,000 and come out $250,000 in debt.
To play the sport.
I mean, that's part of the problem.
So one thing I heard that I'm really intrigued by is you talk about with the coaches, right? Because if you look at pro sports in general, right, what do most of the coaches look like? They look like me, right? And even though some leagues have done like a Rooney Rule, which hasn't really seemed to produce anything, why is that still such an uphill battle? I mean, like I said, I love that you're starting that process, but it seems like we're so far behind on that. How do we accelerate that?
Well, the thing is, it starts, in the little league, and I've been in the amateur space with the breakthrough series, and getting eyeballs on the young black players where they're actually, going to perfect game events with the breakthrough series teams and stuff like that, and it's a great start with what we're doing with it. But like you said, to get to that next level, you got to have the HBCU factor where you get the black players because, one, they're not really getting into D1. If they do, they're going to be a pinch runner or an outfielder. They're not going to play their true position. So it lies in former players and guys of color being in position of power in order for that change to be made. Like you were saying, there are a lot of white coaches, so they're going to everybody brings in their own. So if we're able to,
which you can go and look at what the NBA's doing. You got a lot of black basketball players. Now you got a lot of black executives in that world. So you talk about creating opportunities. That's creating opportunities for these black head coaches in the NBA, broadcasters. So it starts at the top. I mean, Major League Baseball is in control.
Right.
And if they really want to step in and make a difference, they could. They have the finances to do it.
We know someone looking for a job.
And even I look at the RBI program. I'm just gonna be honest. They go in,
That's what
they
we
put
do
a
here.
stamp.
That's what we do here.
They put a stamp on it and they walk away.
Right.
Why not bring in the black Major League Baseball former players to run these RBI programs, to see them through? People of color. No, they put their stamp on it, they walk away, and then the programs go downhill because they don't have the finances to sustain it.
To your point, Brian, I mean, it's not a surprise that we have so many Latin American players in Major League Baseball. There have been academies over in Dominican Republic since the 60s.
They
and 70s.
invest in a lot of money.
Every Major League club has a program over there. They sign with 15. At 18, the best ones come over here. And they did that in the urban areas in the United States.
Yeah.
Right.
There'd be more black Americans. So I mean, this is
Definitely.
we're not the answer in this room.
Yeah.
Like it starts at the top.
Look, we can be honest about that.
Also, I mean, I'm going to be honest about it because I'm not looking for a job. I'm 66. I'm not going to need another job.
Well, so here's my question, right? So here's where I really want to go. So we acknowledge that it could be done.
Yes.
Oh, it could be.
Is there racism in baseball?
No doubt. Come on.
There's racism in every segment of the
Okay.
I mean, no
It's
doubt
kind of
about it.
real
But I think I think in terms of how to quantify what that racism is, I think it starts from the fact that we're not in positions to make decisions. Okay, so then if we're not in position to make decisions, then the ones that are making decisions are the ones that make the decisions that look like them. Okay, so now there is this new shift that the commissioner Mansford is working towards. Is they're going to expand to 32 teams. Okay, so but before they do that, they have to rectify Oakland. Either move Oakland to Las Vegas or stay within Oakland, but it looks like they're going to Las Vegas. And then they finalized Tampa. Tampa's going to stay in the same region. Right. So they're going, okay. And then once they rectify those two entities, then they'll fast forward to the expansion portal of that. Nashville being the number one spot. Right. So the reason why I'm sharing this part of it is that so I'm working with Dave Stewart and our Black-led ownership group to spearhead the Nashville part of that. The whole reason for us even getting into the sector and the ability to pull this group together is because we're not in decisions. And so in order for us to really make effective change, we have to be in decisions. Yep. And so I think that will start the process of what we need to do to move forward, to kind of galvanize our communities around so they can see us in those types of boardrooms, et cetera, and then it begins to create this, what we're talking about, right? So that is one piece of the puzzle. It's not the puzzle. It is one piece of the puzzle.
You're still just 1/32 in making decisions that's going to impact everybody. So they still maintain control, but it is a good thing to see that hopefully, this is just a first step of going in that direction. Right. I think it's important that happens too.
So what about the Black Players Alliance? How is that taking a role in that, with stuff?
Again, if you're not making the executive decisions and you bring this alliance in there, who has to get the approval from Major League Baseball?
You're still stuck in the same.
You're still stuck in the same spot.
So let's talk about
that's reality.
Yeah. So one of the reasons we're all here is we're here for the great rise to greatness, And if we're being honest, that's led by a wealthy white man who brought all of y'all brothers in here to help do this work. So tell me about. So what I believe is are there opportunities? How do we leverage, right? If we're not at the table, how do I leverage Nick? So talk to me about how Rise to Greatness, why you all are doing this work, and how are they infiltrating, for lack of a better term, the major league, the people at the table?
Well, I can't speak from a major league perspective. I can speak from a grassroots perspective. Jennifer and Jerry know the people that's been doing the work away from Major League Baseball. We've been on the ground getting people involved.
They tell us about that,
for years. And before the Breakthrough Series, there was only MVP, the organization we started in Atlanta. Breakthrough Series started from MVP. And we're glad it happened. We're not in competition with anybody. Right. We want more help. We seek more help. We want all of our kids to be exposed to this. Right. So this is a great start, but again, it's going to take a lot more than us at this table to get it done. Mm-hmm. And Reggie, I'm glad you said something about the Stars. We need you to bring Tennessee State baseball back.
Yeah, that's another conversation we can have.
Tennessee State, and we hadn't had a program since '93.
Yes, sir.
That's another problem with HBCU. All of them don't have baseball anymore.
That's right.
Well, or Division I college in general.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to enhance baseball, somebody made a comment out, one of my coaches. They said, man, this dome is incredible. So if this dome, and like for my organization, just for my organization, we have to have a place to practice. Mm-hmm. So for us to go practice at a facility, I got 6 levels. Just think about this. If I take my 11U and practice for 2 hours, it's $200 an hour. Then I take my 13th, then I take my 15th, then I take my 16th, my 17th, my 18th. That's all in one day. So that's very expensive. And we practice, we go from winter workouts from November to February. And that's where a grassroots program like myself would need sponsorship. Mm-hmm. Take this building, put it in the inner city of Chicago. More people will play, African Americans will come in and try and play baseball, get taught baseball. But what it's going to do is put everybody under one building. Mm-hmm. Now we get to the real grassroots of stopping violence, so our young people can go to practice and walk down the street and do that. Right. So that's a key component to that.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier. I mean, Major League Baseball stepped in and put all these camps and academies over in Dominican Republic. If we had it at inner cities here in the United States, it would be a different story. Right. Different story.
So I'm curious.
I'm quite sure if he had an indoor facility, more ball players, more kids going to college in Chicago. More.
I'm curious. Has any of you all that have access to the commissioner, if you sat down and just had a cup of coffee with him, has anybody literally ever sat across the table and
I don't
said,
think that's a conversation they really want to have. I
that's
mean,
what I'm wondering. Has anybody really ever just said, "Hey, Commissioner, do you realize you're sending people? Why are you doing that in the Dominican Republic? Why don't you do it
I mean,
here?"
Well,
it's
he
been
didn't
known.
start that though.
No, I'm
That's
not
way
saying
before
him.
him.
I
Yeah, that was
I don't
way
wanna blame
before
one
him.
That
person.
was way for
It's-
him.
Way
it's-
But he's in
before
a
him.
position.
Yeah.
He's in a position now
To
that
make
can,
a ch-
to
yeah.
make
Or
a
whatever it was
They're
before,
doing more
right.
now than they've ever done.
Correct.
in the commissioner's
They
office.
are. They are.
I belong to the Buck O'Neill Scouts Association, since our scouting, and the commissioner meets with them annually. And they have a diversity program in the Major League Baseball. We've never had that. We got folks that's going in scouting and marketing, on field maintenance, umpiring, all through the commissioner's office with minority people.
Right.
We've never had that before. So we're moving in the right direction, but again, it's going to take a minute to get there.
Yeah.
And we have the urban youth academies in 8 to 10 different spots in the U.S. Compton, Kansas City, Houston, New Orleans.
Cincinnati.
There's one in
About 6 or
D.C.,
7 of them.
yeah, Cincinnati. And as good as those are, they should have more involvement with in the community.
Right.
Just like in the Dominican, they have school in there. They have teaching
The
them how to.
wraparounds.
Yeah, they
All
have
30 organizations are
everything.
there.
Yeah.
So I heard one of you say that a lot of times historically what the Major League Baseball's done is a fire and forget them. Like I think the one you mentioned earlier, they come in, it's great,
RBI.
and then they're
Yeah.
gone. RBI, then they're gone.
program. Yeah.
And I know from talking to my dad and sister that was one of the things when they started Rise to Greatness is they were adamant that when they come into a community they don't just abandon it. Mm-hmm. And how are we getting to that point now where Major League Baseball comes along that ride too, where it's like we don't just they're making some great strides. They got a diversity inclusion program. For us, what we believe in is that diversity inclusion is great, but if people feel like they belong, that stuff will follow. So how's the sense of belonging? What are they doing for the sense of belonging for A, current players, B, former players, or staff? I mean, I include all baseball, or the young kids. I mean, we're still hearing examples of young kids that are black going to play and being racially taunted. So how do we get to that step where we get past that? Because if you don't feel like you belong playing baseball, I don't care how good you are, you're not going to want to keep playing.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of examples of that. Talented black players have to play in these travel leagues to get exposure. So you're playing with these white kids, and you're probably the only one representing African American on that team. And I know I don't want to throw out a couple names, but I know of a couple kids that are really talented black players that deal with that. And I even called one and talked to him about it. Things that I went through in college that I had to deal with being the only black on my baseball team in college. Go to certain places and, they got ropes hanging out there yelling the N-word, calling me names. But I was one that learned my history of Hank Aaron and Jackie Robinson to where I had a calmer head. I beat them with the bat instead of with my mouth. And, some kids can't do that.
Yeah,
But
I was
able to do that. And for me, I get to share my story with some of those kids who are in the same situation. It's a shame that our talented black players got to play with white players to get that exposure, man. We got to go out and raise the money to give them that opportunity.
So herein lies that opportunity for Major League Baseball or individuals with power, platform, and privilege to create opportunities to teach kids how to be culturally competent. When you're building those programs and you know that people that look like you are going into predominantly white communities, what are the leagues and the teams doing to prepare those communities or those organizations for the type of people that they're getting from wherever, right? And that's important too.
Yeah,
right?
so to your first part of your question about the Ford family and the reason why I think we all can agree to why we do this. The thing about Mr. Ford is that he actually goes into the black areas and be with the people, right? It's not just in his boardroom or in his office or in his home, delegating. Yeah. He's actually on the ground, in the community, and getting the feel for them and what their needs are. Right. And then he goes back to his boardroom and figure out how can he help to kind of bring this together with his family. His heart is in the right place. Right. And so that's why we were able to do it.
And this is a guy who started Perfect Game, for profit situation for baseball players. And he's sitting back watching this over the years after years after years to the point where he said, I got to make a real difference.
Yeah.
And to start the program Rise to Greatness says a lot about him. Yeah, he's been around for long. He's seen it all.
Hey, he's not that old.
And he's seen the problems every single day.
Right. Important thing with that, you mentioned Jerry being in the trenches, in the proximity. This is an important thing, and I would say this Major League, I hope you're listening to folks from Power and Privilege. There are men of power, white men that have privilege, and they just write checks, like you said, and they just go. There's also the conversation about white men or white people who hang around black people or go into black communities is just to feel good about themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Jerry's not that guy. So Jerry's doing that to educate himself, but he's taking action. That's different, right? Some people just do this to say they did it, right? I have black friends, or I went to the black neighborhood. No, Jerry, to the danger of his wife.
More towards himself. I think my mom would be okay. Like,
he humbles himself, and I think leveraging the Jerrys will continue as you all are doing that, leveraging the Jerrys, because they got the seat at the table that we don't have, maybe. So,
and you understand, we are at this table, but there's somebody in every community that's he's done so much in the Atlanta with Marquise Grissom and Chip Lawrence in Florida, but it's somebody in every community trying to do something.
That's right.
And if we can get together and band together, we can be more powerful, because we got pockets of people doing little stuff,
I want to change the gears real quick. Man, the stuff that you've done, medical and physical therapy, and went to school, and you're talking about getting the kids ready outside of baseball, and you mentioned the kid may not be able to play, but the grades are good, and maybe they can be on the practice squad,
the game.
Get into coaching. Talk to me about how that's impacted the kids that you've worked with, because I sense this is more than just about can you throw a ball. Y'all trying to build men.
For me, it's been the amateur side for me, watching these kids grow and being a person of influence for these young people is giving them a blueprint of what their future is. Whether they listen to me or not, I'm able to give them the information about how to conduct themselves, how to become a professional,
right?
And being in that space, that's what I personally love. I like to see the growth in a person. So when they become adults and they're doing good things, I felt that I'm doing my job as a human being to help pass that on. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic,
right,
Asian. It's about leaving the place better than where you got it.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I'll speak just from the seat that I sit in with the Kansas City Royals. Working for them for the last 7 years, my primary role at the time, Dayton Moore, who's a man of character, and was a general manager at the time, and so he said, "Hey, Reg, I want you to come back and work in our organization. I'm trying to do some neat things within our organization. I want you to be a part of it." I said, "Well, what you got?" He said, "Listen," he said, "out of the 100%. 10% of those players will be taken care of. They'll go to the big leagues, they'll, do whatever they need to do, stay a year, stay whatever. But what about the 90% of players that don't make it, that you never hear about them anymore? Right. What type of culture, what type of development is in place for these individuals to move forward?" And so that I was like, aha. I want to be a part of this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then we, with the whole group, we all came to the table to figure out how can we develop the whole person, and everything was basically built on biblical principles, which is very rare within inside of a major league organization.
Yes, it is.
By the corporation.
By the way,
whole nother show on that.
Yeah, that's another whole show. But that was our foundation. Okay, and so we all were in agreement with that, and then we just came to the table to figure out how can we focus on all the four elements of the whole individual. And I'll say to this day, for the 6 years, we put into practice. We develop these individuals mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially as well. And in that space, once they have developed, they realize they can't play baseball anymore. We have to let them go, or or they have to go to another organization, but they always want to come back and work inside the organization because of the culture that we built.
Right.
And so within that culture, we have retained over 40% of the players that have played in that organization. They come back and work in some capacity of their education within our organization.
See, what I hear is if you build the culture,
Yeah.
right?
So
The data will take care of itself on the back
So that
end,
reminds me,
right?
I remember when Ben first came into the league and with the Yankees, and they did a pretty good job, like financial literacy, a little bit of some of that. Why though? Because that's a great program. Why isn't 31, soon to be 32 teams doing that? That's what I don't get. It's like, why can't Major League Baseball as a whole say, why aren't we doing that?
That's not something they care about. They don't care about the player that goes on in his second life. They care about that player that's going to be playing for them and making money,
Right.
over those next 10 to 15 years. Lucky if you get 10 years in. That's what they care about, which is a shame, but,
Reality.
it's
reality.
reality of it, man. And, they're not going to spend any extra money to help, somebody's future. When they feel like
I'm totally on the other side because I never played professional baseball. My thing has always been education. And 90% of these folks are going to be professional in something other than athletics.
Yeah.
So, after I quit coaching, I went in, I finished all 30 years at one high school, at Redan High School. But it's always been about education because we know education, you can't lose. You're going to be professional in something. So we've always stressed that. And like Brother Radcliffe said, with baseball scholarships, you got to have some academics to piece that money together.
Yeah.
So we preach education.
Right.
Much as you practice and hard as you work, you got to do the same thing. You got to go to the library. Got to open a book.
Yeah.
So
and that's
but
a
also-
part about what I do right now. I mean, outside of the game of baseball, literacy is such a passion of mine. I write children's books, and I'm in elementary schools every day, first grade, second grade. I start out early because if they're not reading by third grade,
Right.
You lost
or
them.
over
Yeah,
60-something
it's too late.
percent in the juvenile system.
Right.
So my passion is that way, and I get to share my story about education, how important it is.
Right.
Look, I had scholarships all over the place, but my mom, I was going to get my degree wherever I went.
Yeah.
I mean, I was offered out of high school first-round money, but she made sure I was going to get my education. So what do I do now? That's what I stress to young kids.
Yeah.
Education first. I don't care how good you are as a player. If you get your academics, man, the sky is the limit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's baseball you're making it, that education is going to take you even further, I never thought I'd be a broadcaster after freaking baseball.
So in
because of my
baseball-
education, man.
So I got to ask. October 1st through 7th was banned book weeks. Did your books get banned?
No.
I just
No, it did not get banned. No. So that's a whole other show too, man.
Making sure your books didn't
So I wish Joy had been. She's fighting through traffic, but one of the big things she talks about with her programs is generational wealth in the Black community. So in sports, right? So obviously, I know there's a lot of players still that make all their money, and then by the 5 years after they're done, they're broke. But how do we translate that into generational wealth too, where you came from where you came from? You're not there anymore. How do we propel that and get these young kids to see that this is a way to create that generational wealth as well? And that if it's not by playing, it's by coaching or by doing whatever in education or getting there, and to give them that education to get them there.
Yeah, I think when I came in as in the 90s, it was all about cars, girls, clothes. I mean, you
That's
name
when
it.
Ben came in. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You name it.
Yeah.
That's what the focus was. That's what the conversations were all about around the table, that kind of thing. I think it's shifted into a shift into another direction, the 21st century, in terms of what these individuals are talking about around the table or in the clubhouse, on the bus, on the plane. And so they're talking about financial literacy, right? Those types of things. We actually have programs. The majority of Major League Baseball teams, they have financial literacy programs. Even their agents, they do the financial literacy as well. It's whether the player wants to,
Want to embrace
take
that.
take advantage of that as well. But my point is that the conversation that you're talking about has shifted to another direction. And now, and most of these individuals also, they have businesses that they've already created as well.
So like
on the
LLCs
side,
and stuff.
LLCs, nonprofits. I mean, you name it. So they're way ahead of the cusp more than
But not
ever
enough,
before.
though. Not
Still not
enough,
enough.
man. you know, and I'm speaking of all sports, really.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, because I look at NFL. You know, they have that one big symposium where you scare the heck out of the players and tell them your horror stories and, you know, your horror financial stories, but you only do it one time. And then all of a sudden you hand them a crap load of money,
crazy money.
and expect them
They're on
to
their
remember
own.
that one session. So Major League Baseball, NFL, hockey, all of them can have programs implemented
Right.
to where if you're going to get this salary, this is what you got to do, or
Yeah.
at least listen to the right ways to handle your money and have
Yeah.
a follow through, man. Make it mandatory for these players to really learn
Right.
how to spend their money, because a lot of these kids come up from nothing. And now they're millionaires, and you think they're gonna know how to
Right.
educate themselves on spending money?
Right.
It's not gonna happen.
Yep. So here, great point. And the thing is, it's education. It's an and, right? Because you come from a generation where girls, cars, and so you made it through, right? And so you got young kids, I imagine, telling you, "What you telling me for? You did all that." So my final question to you all is, you're not being able to get Major League Baseball to help you recruit black kids or recruit more kids of color. What is your favorite way to acquire talent to your programs or the work that you do? How do you attract the talent?
Great question. I like that
If
question.
you're not getting the help, what's your favorite thing to do?
So for the show baseball program, social media,
Social media.
a lot of social media. All our guys, when we travel, and we put it on social media, try to have the best uniforms, all the gear. The biggest thing is that we have a signing day that my wife is directly responsible for. And we have every news station there. So, and then we have all our players from Little League, football and everything. And we have all our guys on the football field. It's all on the internet. And we have a huge signing day, CPD, police and everything. And we put that on social media.
Social
and
media.
everybody wants to be a part of
Yeah.
signing day.
Yeah.
So we have to do things to catch their attention. And
But
They add to that?
But to correct you, Major League Baseball is doing something about it now. Tony Reagans is doing a lot.
He is doing a lot.
yeah,
And Dale Matthews, their staff, is doing a lot. And they reach out to us because they know we're on the grassroots and we know how to find players. That's what we've been doing anyway.
Right.
And so we work jointly with them. And the kids that are good enough will go to the Breakthrough Series and the summer series that they do. They do a 3-week series now.
Yeah.
You know, so those that aren't, we know, they're still Radcliffe and I. We'll take those kids and try to develop to get them there. But
Yeah.
we're getting way more help than we've ever gotten before. So
And shout
we're
out to
moving
Major
in the
League
right
Baseball. I
direction.
know I mean, with all due respect, you give credit and
That's
you
right.
and you hold people
Yeah.
accountable. And so
Yeah.
we're holding them accountable.
Yeah.
But if they're doing some work, we got to give
That's
them
right.
credit.
We're behind.
That's right.
Yeah, that's no question.
Yeah,
so
we're behind.
appreciate that.
I mean, we're
Anything
gonna-
else to add?
Yeah, we're gonna be behind until we're in front.
Yeah.
And as long as everybody stays on course, because sometimes people want to go veer right and veer left.
Right.
And I was involved with the Breakthrough Series and Hank Aaron Invitational up to this year, due to managing in the draft league. But every year, and it's a testament to all the coaches, that the former players, because we're in the trenches with them every single morning.
Right.
Teaching them early work with Lenny Webster and Charles Johnson doing the catching.
Right.
And then you have Pat Mahomes and Marvin Freeman doing the pitching, and then you have myself and guys like Papa Jack, Ron Jackson doing hitting, and we're a family in there because it ain't about the paycheck. It's about getting these kids the education, give them the nuggets that we can give them that week or 2 weeks that we're around them, showing them a different way of how to approach the game, because their perception on what it takes to be a big leaguer, and then having a big leaguer tell you, that's their new reality. And then when they get back to wherever they're going to, they have to deal with that. But during those 2 weeks, they're like, oh, we got coaches that look like us, they talk like us, we're playing music. Jerry Manuel's, he's leading that ship every day. He got play with it and all that good stuff. And we had Lou Collier out there just absolutely
building
It's
relationships.
just so much fun. And I just saw Cam Collier at Red's instructional league. And I remember him at 12 years old when Lou brought him
Come
in
on, Lou's
there.
kid? Cam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are many more kids that are in the system that's playing, you know, either in the minor leagues or in the big leagues, or some guys that are still in college.
And they bring some good speakers down there to speak.
Oh yeah, you know, Junior comes down there. When
You
they
got
go
to say
there?
my name, man.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Dang, I
Brian done
came
it.
down there and speak.
Brian
man.
Jordan went down there.
And when I tell you, look,
Hey, you're a football player now.
and when I tell you they do a wonderful job down there, because one, it was hot as I don't know what down at Vero Beach, man. And I came down there and spoke that one day, and I looked at the fellas and said, God bless y'all, man. No,
Well,
but it's an awesome thing to see. And a lot of those players, like you said, man, they develop and go on to
Right.
play Major League Baseball. So
Well, we
it's-
talk a lot
it's
about,
awesome.
you know, in our world, we deal with a lot of businesses, and sports is a business. And we
Yes,
talk
that's
about
right.
there's something that you just said that I think is important as we wrap this up, is that kids need to see people who look like them. And so this is my plea to Major League Baseball. We tell companies you have to be intentional about this.
Yeah.
And there's no reason, and you just said it, not for economics, that you're not employed by Major League Baseball right now. Like, that's just a fact. Why is that? And so my plea is hire Dmitri, not because of the money, but because of the knowledge and the education.
I'll echo that.
Because there's plenty of folks out here that do this work, and so I appreciate all that you all are
Otherwise, you
doing.
might be sleeping on one of our couches.
But you know what? If we're gonna go there, we're losing jobs in Major League Baseball because of the Harvard kids and the analytics. I mean, when you're starting to put those guys on the field and remove former players, to me, that's not a good trend. But that's what's happening in this new game of baseball. So, to me, it gets harder. It gets harder.
So we have to figure out, not we, but just people that were in this work have to figure
Right.
out what's the
balance?
What's the balance?
Yeah.
Right. What are the rules to the game,
You
so
know,
to speak?
one more thing about the coaches and stuff. We gotta find a way to learn the analytics, because that's what they're hiring. They're hiring.
Right.
That's what the game is.
That's what it is.
Well, you got to be open to learning them. You know, I know from experience talking to a couple former coaches who wasn't open to changing. You know, you have to have an open mind.
Yeah, you're a dinosaur,
if we
that's
want to
the
make
case.
the
That's what it
change.
is.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and have these opportunities.
Right. Yeah. A mentor told me, if you don't get to make the rules for the game, at least get the rule book and then play to win.
Learn.
Right, right,
Then when you're
right.
at the table, you can change the rules.
Yes,
I like that.
yes.
It's not going backwards.
Learn what they know.
Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. We want to give a shout out to our 5-star presenting sponsor, Kirkwood Community College, and our wonderful, wonderful silver sponsor, Rise to Greatness, and the opportunity that they gave us to talk to you legends. Appreciate your time. Hopefully we can share this to the world. Anything else you would like to add, Nick?
No, it's always great seeing you all. So usually I try to avoid these clinics and things, but as the non-baseball player member of my family. But no, it's great having this talk with you, and I appreciate your openness and candor and topics that aren't always easy for people outside of this world, but it needs to be had. So
Thank you, guys.
Thanks
Thank
for
you,
your time.
guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Bottom line, advancing equity is not a one-year project. It's a generational commitment.
There are too few people in the world willing to be the domino, too few people willing to take that fall.